And you notice we haven't come to the 7-8 yet, have we? Now, would you have thought that the 4-5 is better than the 7-8 to your own crib if you had a choice of putting a 4-5 or a 7-8? Would you prefer the 4-5?
I would.
Why do you suppose the 4-5 works better than the 7-8?
I say face 6.
A lot of people love King 6, Queen 6, 10-6, Jack 6. A lot of people love them. Well, you don't need much of a cut on the deck to help that. You got 7 before the card ever turns up on the deck. So the 4-5 has a higher average than 7-8. I know you won't always have those choices, but it's nice to know. Sometimes you might. And you could stick the 4-5 over there and actually improve your chances for scoring. Was anybody surprised that the 7-7 is not in those first group?
No.
Did you notice? It ends with a 5-7. You already knew that?
No. I have one question, please. I don't understand why a 5 Jack would score higher than a 5 King because everybody goes kings in there.
No, that's not true, but that's what people think. We're going to talk about a lot of things that people think about this game that are not true.
Okay.
The Jack is the card that is least likely to be in the crib.
Right.
So if it's the least likely card to be in the crib and you put it there, you automatically increase the score of the crib. Now, if all you're wanting to get is a pair of kings in there, that's fine. But everybody who's kept track of discards, I'm not the only one. Does anybody have a Hal's crib? 5 Jack is always, anybody that's ever tracked it, 5 Jack has a higher average. It's more dangerous if you give it to your opponent, and it has a higher score when you put it in your own. Because your opponent don't give you the Jack. Your opponent holds the Jack with a 6-7-8 and a 1-2-3 and a 2-3-4, and you know they just keep the Jack. So if you provide the Jack very often, instead of having 2 kings with a 5, you'll have a Jack Queen King with a 5, and maybe a face card on the deck.
Well, you pick up a quarter point because it's a Jack.
Exactly, and it's worth 1/4 of the time it's worth an extra point simply because of its suit. So, in fact, you can take the 5 away from the Jack. Put any card with the Jack to your own crib. Any card with the Jack to your own crib. And it has a higher value than does the same card with the King. Doesn't make any difference if you're putting a 1 with it, a 2 with it, a 3 with it, a 4 with it, a 5, a 6, a 7, an 8, a 9, a 10, another Jack, Queen, King. Doesn't make any difference. If the card is with the Jack, it has more value than if it's with the King. And conversely, throwing to your opponent, the Jack is the one card you don't want to put in their crib. So if they get the Jack in their crib, make them put it. Don't give it to them. Okay. But I want to talk just a little bit about the 5-7 because I see people all the time that see the 7-7 and they see 2 points. 5-7 has a higher average for a reason. That works with a whole lot more cards. See? If you think of the 7-7, and you think of how folks are likely to discard King 9, Queen 9, 6 King, 6 Queen, 6 10, 6 Jack. See, you got to go through quite a few before you get anything to go with the 7s. Although the 7s are better than the 8s because they work with a 1. Okay, but very, very often you've got that pair. It's worth 2. It's worth 2, but so is the 5-7. Remember, anything that has a 5 with it is worth 2. So if you're looking at, well, should I throw a 2-2 or a 2-5 to my crib? They're both worth 2. The 2-5 works with more cards than does the 2-2. Okay, so anyway, keep that in mind. That first group then are all discards that total 6 points or more. Now, if that's all you could learn, was that top group that averages 6 points or more to my crib, that's all, this class would be worth what? Now, if you can learn all 91 without stopping to think about them, then you're really there. But you'd be amazed how much it would improve you just to know this top group. Then the next group down. Notice that even the 3.5 has a higher average than the 7.7. Did you already figure that out? Some of you played it as long as I have. 3.5. Sometimes if you think about what Hal's crib does, is Hal's crib does in the computer what you can actually do with a deck of cards. It takes a little more time with the cards than letting the computer do it. But for instance, if you took the 3.5 and you laid out all the cards in the deck that would increase its value, there would be a whole lot more cards that would increase the value of the 3.5 than there would be the 7.7. See? Just think about that. 7.7, is it increased by 1, an ace? Yeah. 2, no. 3, no. 4, no. 5, no. 6, no. 9, no. 10, jack, queen, king, no. See the difference? 3.5. Okay. So anyway, that's why it's higher on the list. This deck of cards is really pretty predictable. If you look at them when you start, there's usually 52. And there's usually 4 aces, deuces, 3s, 4s, on up the line. No matter how much you want it to change, depending on the composition of your hand, it ain't going to do it. But you do have control over the 2 cards you choose to go to your crib. And when you can, make them good. We're going to talk about sacrifice limits here in a little bit. Has anybody ever stopped to think when they look at their card, well, how much can I give up in my hand to put something in my crib? Very little. And I'm going to show you the only discards that you should be giving up anything to put in your crib. And there are not many. That's a very short list. You've got a chance to remember this list. Okay. Okay. Any questions? When you get a chance, look at the rest of these averages. You'll see down there in the third group, there's an 8-8, a 5-9, a 1-4, a 1-5, Jack, Jack, 9-9, so on. All of these that I've listed here are discards that score 4.8 or more. So if they're not here, they're on another chart in here, but these are the ones that score 4.8 points or more. Now, I want to talk a little about sacrifice limits.